Well, one of our subscribers asked, would you please give a demonstration of how to paint glass? Well, you know, how to do something always involves my telling you how you can look and then record what you see. So let's take that approach. You know, when you call something, or when you're trying to paint something as what you call it, for example, you're trying to paint glass and you keep in your head, you keep registering that it's glass, it's really difficult to figure out. And you might be able to do it, or you might not be able to do it. But what I want to teach you to do is to record things, or to paint things, express things, images, according to what you observe. Just that. So we're two things involved here, at least two. One is what you observe, and then the other is what brush techniques do you use to express what you observe. So this is more of an exercise. It's not an attempt to paint something, but it's more of an exercise. I suggest that you go to Pixabay. Maybe you can take your own picture, but I suppose you take an image that is made of clear glass, that's simple, like this wine glass, very simple, and just set it up with a very, you might say, a very smooth or uninteresting background. A background or a negative space behind it doesn't have any imagery in it. Same thing for the surface it's sitting on, so that you can focus your attention on your observation. It's best to practice things, to practice techniques and observing before you start to paint it. It's always best that way. All right, so if we're looking at this as observing it as a visual thing that has visual characteristics, we observe that we have a value that has no color in it, or very little color in it, depending on what your monitor is showing you, meaning it's neutral. So, and if we look at the value scale, we'll see that that value is pretty much in the middle value, a dark middle value range right here. And then it's just a value darker down here. See, those things are important to observe so that you'll know what you're doing. Now, in this case, the best way to practice it is to first lay a background in and lay the surface in here, because you can see through this into this. So we can see through this the same value, and especially this area right in here, we see the same value and the same color as we're seeing back here. See a little bit of variation in here. Then we observe that we see a light area here that's actually blending into that area. And then we see a more distinct lighter area here and darker area there. And see the same kind of analysis all the way down. So what we do to be able to make that happen. Here's what I suggest. I love my value line palette. I've already got one set up here that I used for a previous quick tip. So I thought it'd be a good one to use for this quick tip too. Since we're dealing with a neutral all the way through, we're not really dealing with color. And when you're learning something like this, like glass, it's better to start out with clear glass and just values and not have to worry about color when you're learning how to look and record what you see. Okay, so what do I see? And I'll just limit the space here a little bit so that it won't take up quite so much time. What I see is this value, and it looks relatively uninteresting. That value on my value line, that value will be dark middle. And so here, first of all, I'm going to pull blue down. This is and I'm going to pull orange up into it. And this is a Desaturated orange is really leaning a little bit more towards red, but it doesn't matter. This is desaturated orange. And the tube color is called Rembrandt Transparent Oxide Red. This is a blue that's more saturated, almost fully saturated. It's ultramarine blue. And so here are the darkest colors that came straight out of the tube, transparent and very, very dark. And then I just mixed white to create these two areas. This is the middle value, and this is the lighter value. All right, so here, first of all, I'm going to mix a neutral, and I can mix that neutral with these two because they are complements and they neutralize each other. And I might be able to make that neutral just a little bit more, I mean, this area right here, a little more interesting than I see it. So I'm going to pull with the corner of my brush, and just going to pull some of this dark color over and get a dark, a middle value that's leaning towards the dark. Let's see. That seems to me to be it. Very, very close there. So the first thing I'll do is simply lay that in. Now this, I'll lay it in relatively smooth. I'll go up just a little bit more up here. Lay it in relatively smooth. And I'll bring it down to about where, so that I have a background negative space that is longer than the positive. I mean, not longer than the surface that is sitting on. This is indicating kind of a horizontal. This is indicating kind of a vertical. That's just something we observe. That's how we observe. We are observing the value, and we're observing variations, any variations we see. We don't see any variations of that back there. So we'll just continue here, and I might just throw up some variation of the color. Just let a little bit of color pop out there, just to keep it more interesting. If you're doing this kind of a practice exercise, you can do what you want to with it as long as you stay close to what you're observing. So I'm just going to bring that down, keep it very smooth. I'm using a soft filbert brush here that enables me to do that. I'm not sure they make this brush anymore. It's made by Vermeer, and it's simply called Vermeer filbert. I mean, it's made by Creative Mark. It's their Vermeer filbert. And the size of this one is what, 18? Okay. I'm just saying that because somebody's going to ask me. You always do. All right, so I've got it down that far. Now I wanted to get it one value darker. So middle value and one value darker. That's what I observe. That's what I'm going to put down here. That is when you are learning or you're studying and you want to record what you see. You're not expressing a creative viewpoint yet. You're simply working, you're simply approaching this technically. Let's see, that's too dark. See, I'm comparing what I did there with this. And I'm looking at the relationship of this between that. I don't want it that dark. So I'll pull some of the lighter values of both these into it. I just want a value darker. But this is how you can make that happen. And the way I'm working my brush here is I'm simply mixing for the color I want. There it is right there. That's the value. That then looks like the same value relationship or very similar. Well, this still may be a little bit darker, but I'll go with that. It's a similar value relationship. And when I say relationship, I mean how much contrast is there between the two values I'm working with there. Are they one value apart? That would be a close value contrast. Are they two values apart? That would be still a closer value contrast, though not as close as one value apart. Are they 5 values apart? That would be very high contrast. And so I don't want very high contrast here. I simply want a similar relationship in value that I'm seeing there. And I'm being very loose here because when we're studying something, we can do that. We're not trying to be precise. I am going to give it just a little bit of a blur there because it bothers me to have a hard edge in a situation like that. And that's all I'll do there. Just get that little bit of blur. Now, or blend. Well, when you see blur, the technique is blend. B and B. Next thing, I want to observe now what's happening right here. And I'll get my paper towel now. The reason a filbert is a good brush to a soft filbert is a good brush to use with this is because you can get wonderful lines with it. And so what I'll do there is I'm going to start with the values I see here. Let's see, I see a dark there and a dark there. I see a dark here. Now that's pretty dark. That's almost that darkest value. If you were working with value scale like this, let's put it right here. How about right there? A value scale, you see that we're in that dark range right there. This one, some people call the darkest dark a 1 value. I came along being taught to call that a number 10 value. Industry switched that system around, and so now we get confused if we try to number values. So I just like these days to say something like the darkest dark. And sometimes I'll say even occlusion shadow, which is the darkest dark, or the next darkest dark, which is what we normally see in deep shadow. But what we're seeing there is reflection. And so what I need is a dark that's very dark. I'm going to use the palette knife and mix myself a dark neutral here. A very dark neutral. So pull these two together, and let's just pull this down like that. Let's get that very dark neutral, and I'll get that set right there so that I can use it. So I'm just going to look for that very darkest dark first. And again, I want to not try to copy, but to try to interpret what I'm seeing. So I'm just going to pull the brush into that and put it onto the brush very flat. You see what I've got there? I don't have it gunked on the brush. I'm going to pull the brush down like this just a little bit so I can get that edge, the edge that I need there. All right, so now in proportion, this area is a little bit larger. Well, let's just go and see. All right, so I see that coming down, that dark, so I'm just going to make it come down, and I did a little bit of football right there. Let's just ignore that. Make it come down like that. I'm going to go on the other side. What do I see on the other side? I see sort of like that. Now, before we get any further, I'm going to blend what I see right there. I'm going to blend it right here. Just slightly blend it. Blend that in right there. As I come up, I'm going to blend that. I'm going to blend this right here. My hand's a little bit shaky. Really need a steadier hand for that. All right, now I'm going up on the top here. What I'm observing there is a light. Not a dark, but a light. So we're seeing a darker area here, come back and catch a light. So I'll go into the light. So if you can describe to yourself what you're seeing in terms of value, and in terms of how it's moving, is it thin, is it thick, is it blended, is it sharp, those kinds of things, well then you're well on the way. All right, so this is a kind of a mirror shape of that. So I'll just put a little thing like that, and it comes down, and then we see it blended. So let's just give that a blend, a very thin blend. And now I'm going to turn the brush around with a little bit more paint because this is lighter right there. So I'll just bring that down as lighter like this. And what we have, and then it hits dark. Okay. So let's go back to the dark. And it's not quite as dark as this dark. Okay, let's just get that a little bit darker. Let me check. All right, now what do we see there? Okay, we see something like, let me get my maul stick out. You need a steady hand for this, and my hand seems to be a little bit short of steady today. So here's what I'm going to do. Get the maul stick out. And let me just give it a little bit more of a prop on that, and let's just come down like that. I'm just going to let that blend. Now, when you're looking through glass like that, you see what you're seeing. You're seeing soft edge, and you're seeing a light that's beginning to get a little bit lighter as it goes to the edge. All right, let's get a little bit lighter as it goes to the edge. I'm just going to do this to do that. All right, now, what am I seeing? Kind of went out of line there. It's all right, use a little finger painting. Now what am I seeing? Let's go back up here. All right, what are we seeing up there? I think maybe for that I need a smaller brush. I'm going to use my, let me get that a little bit more blended right there. A little bit more blended. Okay, I'm going to use my filbert bristle. This is my favorite brush to draw with. And I'm going to load it the same way. Load it just so that it will come to a tip. And sometimes with these bristle brushes, sometimes you got to fill them full of paint. You see what I'm doing right here? To get a really, really sharp edge, you got to fill it full of paint like that. And then, let me pull this down for a moment. And then pull it between paper towel like this, and you see you'll get that nice little edge. That's just another little technical thing there. All right, now let's see, we need that dark. So let's get an edge. Let's get a little bit of that dark on the tip of that, right there. And let's see. Okay, it looks a little warmer than that other, than what I'm looking at. So I'm going to cool it down just a little bit. Didn't get quite desaturated enough, but that doesn't matter. Just let's get that one. I really am a little bit on the. Here we go. Let's see if this will help. All right, we'll go this way, and then we'll come this way. We don't need the whole thing there, just a little bit. Then come this way, like this, and this way, just a little bit. Now let's go for the sharper edge. All right, going back to this one here, and what I'll do there is I'll load that with just that middle value. And we'll just move right up in here and sharpen that edge just a little bit. And we come back here, do the same thing. The way I pull the brush in the direction that I see this moving. I think I have mine a little bit chunkier, but I don't care about that. I just want to show the concept of glass. Back here, same thing. Let's just make it a little bit more. Now let's give it its emphasis. And I think I'll use this one for that. Just a touch. Okay, let's see, just a touch right there of dark. Let's get just a little bit more on the tip of the brush. And a touch right here. I'm looking here and I'm just describing to myself what I see. I see that little bit of dark going that way and a little bit of dark going that way. A little bit more going that way. And let's pick up on this one just a little bit more right here. Get that a little bit more defined right in there. All right, now get that. I need to clean that up just a bit. If you have a shaky hand, this might be, you might do this little exercise a lot better if you're doing it more flat so that you can kind of prop a little bit. So maybe it's a good thing that you see me having a shaky hand today. Now I'm going to get back into the light. Now, observe myself here, a light that's going in that direction. Let's rinse that brush off. We don't need a dirty brush for that. All right. We see a light that's moving in this direction, so I'm going to go into the light here now and load the back of the brush like that and get a little bit darker there. And this is the way I want to move that. I want to move it. I want to start right here. I just want to move right down like that. And then we'll take that and move it right along the edge right there. Now I need some of that not quite so light over here, so I'll just move that Down like that. Maybe if I just use the other hand to kind of steady a little bit. You do just a little bit more. There we go, like that. A little bit more like that. All right, now what are we seeing to sort of further? Let me just bring that over. Mine's a little bit rounder than that one. I think it would probably need to come over just a little bit more like that, the reflected light. And then I see a little bit of that right through there. What do I see on the rim? I see a little bit of this light reflected right back here, like that. And I see just a touch of it right back here. I don't see that quite so emphasized over there. So, all right. Now, as you can see how I'm moving with this, what I'm trying to do is to observe what I'm seeing, move the brush in the direction of what I'm seeing with the right value on it. And so we'll do just a little bit more. Now, I'm not going to carry this whole thing to a finish. I know somebody was going to get upset about that, but I'm not going to carry it to a finish because of the time factor. But I just want to show you how to observe. I'll put just a little bit more of that light right there, and like this, like this, like this. And let's put a little bit more of the light right in here. Let's get just a little bit more of the darker right in here reflecting. Keep picking up that warmer color. I guess that's all right. After the value than the color. Anyway, let's turn that around and give that a few strokes right there just to have it blended. Then go this way. Okay, I'll sink it. Give it a bottom. Give it a little bit more dark there. Right as it's coming down right in here. Coming right in here, just like that. That's the dark right there. And then, let's see, let's get that a little bit more squibbly. And then we see that light. Oh, that brush may be a little bit too wide for that light, but I'm going to try it anyway. Try it this way. See this light right. What's that light? Oh, that light is doing this right here. It's just sort of sitting there and smushing. Like that, and a little bit of it over here, kind of like that, and then we see it coming in at this direction. The light's kind of moving in that direction into that dark area, and so you get that idea. And if a little bit more of that dark, pull the brush out, a little bit more of that dark right here. Right in there, something like that. All right, let's see. Have I got it going now? Have I shown you enough so that you can get the idea? Well, maybe I could have done just a little bit neater job right in here. Let's see. Yeah, something like that. And let's see, move in that just a little bit more right in here, like that. And you see we have the light going down the stem on either side. Then there's a strong dark right beside the light, and there's that middle value, same value as this right in the middle. In other words, you do the same kind of observation all the way through. Oh, I lost a little light at the top there. Well, let's just put it in. There we go. And let's see. Be a little bit more relaxed about that. And it's now made it look like there we go. Maybe that's better. Anyway, all right. So that gives you the idea of how to study glass. Just study the shapes, which way the values are moving that's causing those shapes, and the brush stroke that you're using. And you'll find that with a little practice, you'll be painting any kind of glass you see. Be sure to view all of our quick tips. And while you're doing so, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell, so you'll always get a notice when we produce a new quick tip, which is every week. And if you have a question, leave it in the comments section, and we'll make a quick tip for you. Also, take a trip over to DianneMize.com, where I have full-length lessons, downloads, DVDs, lots of other stuff there, some free stuff for you. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the newsletter, and that way you'll always be informed every time we do something new.